welcome or welcome back to 4F Beauty. When will I be YouTube famous? I still don't know. What I do know is that I am loving this look that I have produced today using the Colourpop Good Sport palette. So, if you want to find out exactly which shades I used from this to produce this stunning look, then my friends, you are in precisely the right place. Grab a drink, grab a snack, put your feet up. Here comes the tutorial. Hey, welcome back from the intro. I will have shown you this in the intro, but I won't have shown you the inside yet. This is the Colourpop Good Sport palette. Again, names on the back of here and on the back of the unit carton, but they've actually also put the names underneath the shadows. Look, not before time Colourpop, well done. So, now, I have done swatches, I'll put them up here now. Top row left to right is Wild Out, Hooky, Rookie, Sister, Licious and High Hopes. And then the bottom row is Reckless, Trooper, Hooked, Trophies, Ebb and Flow. And back to me, hello. This bottom row is just screaming my name. So I know I'm going to end up using at least half of that bottom row. This yellow is also calling me as well. So I can see myself having a lot of fun with this. Now, hubby, darling hubby, has bought me the Jeffrey Alien palette, but it's a Christmas present, so I was allowed to check it. Here's the picture. I was allowed to check that everything was okay, but I'm not allowed to play with it till Christmas. So hopefully this will tide me over until then, because it has got some... This, actually, I can see so many different looks I want to do with this palette that I don't know where to start. Well, I know where I want to start. I'm going to start with the greens, but I also want to do something with the purples, and then I want to do something with the browns and the... So, should we get you zoomed in so I can start playing with this instead of just talking at you? Yeah? That'd be a good idea? Fabulous. How's your day been? I hope it's been a good one so far. Or if you're at the start of your day, I hope it's going to be a good one. Right. Face is washed, moisturised, SPF'd and primed with my usual antiperspirant primer. I have got a video on this, a little mini tutorial if you want to have more information on that. Right, let's talk through. I'll use these brushes because they are due for a clean, but these are the best ones to demonstrate brush shapes to you. Right, now when I look, I think a little bit, let's zoom in a fraction more. There we go. Right. When I look straight ahead, you can see all of my mobile eyelid, which means that I don't have a hooded lid. If you don't see all of that, you've either got a half or a full hooded lid, or what's known as a mono or an Asian eye. You can still follow my tutorials though. All you need to do is get a brush. There we go, focus on the brush, well done. Something like this with a flat top on it. And with your eye open, whatever the first colour is that we're going to be using for our crease shade, just sketch out where you need your crease to be. Now obviously this is going to reduce the space between your crease and your brow, because I can just follow my natural socket to do mine. So there's a number of ways we can get around this. Raise your brows, you'd be surprised how much additional space that gives you just by stretching those out. or if that doesn't give you enough space, we then need to look at the brushes we're using. Now, I'm going to be using brushes this sort of shape. So I'm going to go in with a big fluffy brush here to start with, and then I'm going to come down to a more tapered fluffy brush. If you've got reduced space here, either because you've got smaller eyes, lower eyebrows, etc., or because you've had to raise your crease up, instead of starting with this brush, you need to start with this one. And when I move down to this brush, you need to move to something like this. Now, I know it looks like a pencil brush, but pencil brushes are quite firmly packed. This, as you can see, is still very loosely packed and ideal for blending. And this one is from Coastal Scents. This is a tapered crease brush. Okay. So, I actually got a new set of brushes when Beauty Bay had their sale on over Black Friday, so I'm going to be using some of my new ones from BH. How pretty are these? Look at that, look. That's my one that I'm going to be using for packing the colour on. Yes, I'm still growing, and I've also found out that my primer discolours this, which is fabulous. This is clean on, trust me. Basically, I ripped my fingernail off, don't ask. So I've got this on just to stop anything from getting on the nail bed while it's regrowing. It's doing very, very well for those of you who are wondering, thank you. Right, so I'm going to go in, this is a BH7 and then a BH, that's the 7, and this is the 8. And these are the two brushes that I'm going to be using today to do my blending work. Now, all that's on my eyes so far is a little bit of Conceal and Define, concealer in C1 from Revolution, blended out across the eye and set with my Coty Airspun. If you've got very, very oily eyelids or very, very dry eyelids, you may find using an eyelid primer is better for you. The Urban Decay do a very good one, or the MAC Paint Pot. Revolution have just brought out a load of different coloured pomades, and one of them looks like it's a dupe for the MAC Paint Pot. So next time I get paid, I'm going to pick one of those up and just see how that goes for doing your eyes. So I'm going to start off with Trooper, I think, this beautiful yellow, because I just can't resist it. It's calling out to me in the palette. Got my colour switch for tapping off into and for changing colours. Now, just before I start, because of chronic pain, I cannot blend very quickly. If you're the sort of person who can zoom through blending, then by all means speed me up. Please don't complain that I'm blending too slow. The whole point of my tutorials is that anybody of any ability can follow along step by step by step. If the fact that I'm slow bothers you, I'm really sorry about that, but that's chronic pain, I can't help that. Alright? Speed me up. There's a widget either up here or down there. I won't be offended if you speed me up. Okay, so as you can see, I've picked up some pigment on my brush and I'm going to start off. Now I'm going to follow the socket. If you've had to lay a line down, you follow wherever that line is. And we're going to start off just by doing little windscreen wiper movements to lay our first shadow down. That's a really nice colour. The most difficult colours to create are yellows, blues, purples, greens. So I'm going to use probably yellow, purple and green today, because I always, if there are any of those colours in a palette, I will normally use those in my first tutorial with them, because that gives you a really good indication of how the rest of the palette's going to go, because if they can do difficult shadows, then the easier ones like the browns and everything should be even better. So, picked up some more pigment, tapped off. Now we're going to do little tiny circular movements. Now I always hold my brush right at the very end, and these BH ones are awesome because they actually flare out at the end, so they make it nice and easy to hold. we're going to do little tiny circular movements because where I've lost about 10-11 stone over the last few years, and because I'm 44, the skin on my eyelids moves, and you can end up with gapping or tiger striping or barcoding, whatever you want to call it. Where I'm blind in this eye got pulled around a lot by the ophthalmic hospital when I was like 5 and 6 years old. You can see I've actually got quite deep permanent creasing here. So there's a little fly in here and it's really bugging me. It's December, they should all be dead by now. What's going on? When I do this eye, I will actually gently stretch that skin out and show you what I mean about the barcoding. But by blending it the way I'm about to show you, it will move the skin on your eyelid ever so gently, so you won't be causing any additional damage to the eye, but you will be covering all of the lid and you shouldn't get any of that barcoding or gapping. Okay, right. So, starting at the edge here, keeping our bristles at the moment in contact with this bottom line we've just laid down. We're going to do little tiny circles very, very gently across to the middle where our nose is. Then without lifting our brush off of our skin, we're going to go up a little bit, reverse the direction and come back again. And if, like me, you've got deep set eyes, you've got a lot of eyelid to play with, well, we can go up again, go back to our original direction and blend back across. Now, I normally like to leave 4 or 5 mils or about a brush width on the lowest part of my brow, just so that my highlight when I put it here stands out, and also because if you carry the colour right up to the brow it can be quite ageing, because that is very, very 80s thing to do. So now, because I always struggle here and here to get pigment to lay down because of creasing, I'm just going to add just a fraction more here. I mean, you can see that yellow has blended out without losing very much of the colour at all. It's maintained the majority of its depth of colour, which is really nice to see. I'm really happy about that, because very often yellows, when you blend them out, they kind of disappear halfway up the eye, but you can see this has still got a really good punch of colour. So, without adding any more pigment to this brush, I'm happy with the depth of colour all the way up, so I'm now going to do little tiny windscreen wipers backwards and forwards and up and down, and just overlapping them slightly as I go up and down the eye, just to make sure we've absolutely covered all of the skin that we want to kiss with pigment. And we can use a combination of windscreen wipers and twirly whirlies just to make sure we're absolutely happy with how that colour's blended out, and I really, really like that. So, we're now going to go in and we're going to do the other eye, which I don't do off camera, I do it with you so you can follow along step by step. Gives you a better idea of how long it's going to take you to produce this look, and it also means you haven't got to keep rewinding the film and trying to do the whole thing but in mirror image. So, now with this eye, obviously, because I'm blind in it, I can actually shut this eye, so I can show you 2 different methods of application. One with an open eye and one with a shut. Because obviously if I close the other eye, being blind in this one, there's not a lot of makeup's going to happen. Now, normally, doing those circles, as I said, will get rid of any gapping, but because the creases on this eye are so deeply set where it was pulled around when I was a kid, can you see that striping there where it hasn't got any colour on? Normally doing the circles will take that out. Unfortunately, I know from experience it doesn't on me, so I have to very gently hold the eye out and ever so carefully, as lightly as I can, just blend that pigment. I'm not adding any pigment to it, I'm just blending what I've already got laid down there, just to get rid of that striping. Now, I don't advise you to hold your eye out like that unless you have the same problem as me. Try the circles first and only resort to that if the circles don't work for you. So I've picked up some more pigment. I'm really sorry if you can hear next door's kids shouting. And we're going to do our little twirly whirlies again. Across to the middle, lift up a bit, reverse the direction, come back again, and obviously I can now come up a third time, do a third stripe, but again, still leaving my gap underneath the brow. So I'm just going to check I've got enough pigment laid down everywhere that I want pigment laid down. As I said, I do struggle on these outer corners here, so I do tend to add just a little bit more in, just to make sure that we've not got any faded bits or gappy bits, because that's a dead giveaway your age, folks, it really is. Right, so once I'm happy with the depth of colour that's laid down, which I am, without adding pigment to the brush, I'm going to start doing my little tiny windscreen wipers where I overlap up and down, up and down, up and down, just to make sure we've completely covered all of the eye with this beautiful, beautiful yellow. And like I said, mixture of twirly whirlies and windscreen wipers just to finish off with, just to make sure that is a stunning yellow, it really is. Right, I'm going to take all the colour off the brush, and I am going to go in with Trophies, which is this beautiful deep green on the bottom row. This has got a bit of kick up on it, but that doesn't worry me. I don't blow the kick up off because I can just pick it up when I want to do more blending, so it's not a problem. So we're going to start off still using that same brush, still using the number 7. I'm going to start off by just running, wow, just running that through the crease. Ooh, that's got some pigment to it, hasn't it? Wow. Pick up a wee bit more, and I mean a wee bit more pigment. Now this time when we do the blending, we're not going to go up the eye, we're going to keep this brush in contact with that line we've laid down. We're still going to change direction though, so we're going to start off going this way, and then we're going to reverse the direction and come back again, but we're not going to lift the brush up at all, we're just literally going to buff along that line because I don't want to lose the beauty of that yellow above it. Now darker colours do take more blending simply because they have more pigment molecules in them, so they take a little bit longer to blend out, but you can see this is actually blending really easily. For a dark green, this is blending so well. This is what the greens should have been like in the Vault palette, because they took a lot more blending than this did. I mean, you can see that has just blended straight out without any problem at all. Wow. Right, I'm just going to clean the pigment off of the brush. I'm going to gently buff just where the two, I'm going to pick up a little bit of that yellow actually, a bit of that trooper, just a little bit on the brush, and just gently do little circles where the two colours meet, because I really want to soften that green and blend it into the yellows. It's not a harsh line. We don't want harshness, we just want, as John McLean would say, seamlessness. So you can see just gently buffing over the edge where those two colours meet. It's just softened. Oh, I really like this colour. Oh, I really like this colour. It's darker than I was expecting, but I'm not going to complain about that. I picked up a little bit less on the brush this time because I know how much pigment is on it. Or in it, rather. I always get more fallout with this eye because the skin on it is less taut because it got pulled around so much. You can see even clearer now with this darker shade what I mean about the tiger striping or the bar coding. So we're just going to give that a very gentle buff. Just to soften it ever so slightly. Okay, and pick up a wee bit more of that Rufus, and let's do some twirly whirlies, shall we, folks? Let's do some blending. I'm definitely picking up less on the brush because I know just how pigmented it is. That was a bit of a shock to me just how much pigment came off on that. A nice shock, mind, but a shock nonetheless. You can see that is actually blending out so nicely. It did look a wee bit patchy at first, but you can see as you blend it, that patchiness does go. And it really... I'm not worried about these bits that are on the lid here because I'm going to be covering those in a minute anyway. So once I'm happy with the depth of colour, again, so make sure it matches, I'm going to clear all the pigment off of that brush. Pick up a wee bit of Trooper again, the yellow, and little tiny circles all the way along where those two colours meet. Just very light, gentle circular movements. Just so that we get a nice seamless blend between the two, but we still maintain that gorgeous yellow above the green. Just going to pick up a wee bit more of that yellow. Just continue to buff this side here. The reason I'm adding a little bit of yellow to it is because I've already blended the yellow out, so by blending again I could blend it away. So that's why I'm putting a little bit of yellow back on my brush, just to help with the blending so that I don't lose any of that gorgeous mustardy yellow. That looks stunning already. Really am liking this. Really am liking this look. This is very much a me look. Right, now I'm going to go down to my number 8 brush. So if you started with this, now's the time to go down to your tapered crease, and I'm going to pick up Reckless, which is like a black curranty brown almost, and I'm going to start off just by very gently tapping this pigment just on the outer third of my mobile eyelid, gently tapping, and then tiny, tiny, tiny little tiny circles just to buff that out, and little tiny windscreen wipers just to buff that out again. So you can see that's got a beautiful purple hue underneath it. Really pretty. And I'm going to run this through the crease the same way I did with the first two colours. Now, this is where we do things a little bit differently. Instead of keeping the bottom of the bristles level with that colour and blending, we're going to keep the brush right on that line. Alright, so before we were up here, this time we're here. And we're going to do really, really tiny, really light in pressure circles all the way across and back again, because all we're doing is gently softening the edges of that line. We're not trying to move it up the eye at all, we want to keep it in the crease, because what we're doing is adding the deepest colour here to make it look like you have, I mean, I'm lucky I've got deep set eyes anyway, but doing this will help give the impression of deep set eyes, which apparently is the most desired eye type, apparently. So we're just going to really gently, just little tiny circles all the way along, because we don't want it to overtake the greens. You can see we've still got all three colours very clearly shown. And we're just going to do a little tiny buffing just on this outside edge again, just to get this nice and deep. Now, I did say to you, I do struggle to get pigment here and pigment here. So if you do this and it's looking just a wee bit patchy just there, all you need to do is pick up a little bit of pigment and very gently just tap very, very lightly. Just tap it into the area and just keep tapping rather than doing circular blending movements, and it will diffuse the edge of the colour, but it will still keep the pigment in place. See? And you can really see the difference that makes between the two eyes. It really gives the eye some impact. Right, let's repeat with this eye. So again, it's easier to show you on this eye because I can close it. So we're just going to tap this pigment in. You see I have the same problem here, pigment does not want to sit just there. But as I said before, it's really not a problem. You can just tap the pigment in and we get to the end of this bit. So little tiny circles just to buff this outer corner. And then we'll pick up some more pigment. And we're going to run this through the crease the same way we did the previous two colours. And in exactly the same way I did the previous two colours, I'm going to need to very, very gently pull this corner out just to blend those stripes away. And you can see I've not added any more pigment to it. Just very gentle stripes, very gentle circles to get rid of those stripes. Okay. Now I'm going to pick up a wee bit more pigment, just the pigment that's loose on top of the pan. And very gently, very lightly, just going to buff along that line, just to soften those edges out. And you can see now I'm not taking it up the eye at all. It's literally just on that crease, and this is a beautiful black curranty brown. In fact, I'd almost say it's more black. The more you blend it, the more the black currant comes out. and the less you see of the actual brown, which I think is beautiful. Such a beautiful colour. I mean, if you've got a black currant velvet dress you're wearing for your Christmas party, this would be perfect to go with it. Possibly not with the green and the yellow, but you know, I'm going to be doing some other colours with this, some other tutorials with this palette, don't you worry. So again, we just pat the extra bits of pigment on, just in the areas that were being a bit stubborn. I am so liking this palette. Right, now I'm going to go in with a number 5, which is this sort of flat packer brush. Now you know I always apply my pigments wet. I'm going to use this Pigment Boost spray. You can use anything. You can use a moisturising spray like a Mario Badescu or a MAC Fix Plus. You can use a priming spray, you can use a setting spray, you can even use clean water. The one thing you mustn't do is put a wet brush into a dry pressed pigment. The only time you wet your brush first is if you're going into loose pigment. So I'm going to pick up some of this beautiful ebb off of the bottom row because it has been calling my name. Ooh, look at that. Goodness me. And then I'm going to just spray that brush a couple of times just to wet the pigment. Now I always dry the ferrule off as well to make sure there's no moisture around the base of those bristles. And then we're going to apply this pigment to the 2/3 of the lid that haven't got any pigment on it yet. And obviously I've not done a cut crease because I want to see how opaque this pigment is and whether it will cover the deeper shade that we put into the crease, and yes, apparently it will. So I'm going to bring this out to here and then just basically trail it off almost in like a diagonal line to come down to the end here. And sort of just so we've still got that beautiful depth of colour on the outside edge. But you've got this stunning, stunning pigment. Wow. Right, now what I do is I go to my colour switch and I take all the pigment off the brush, and then I dry the brush on my hand. You can see there's no pigment coming off, but I just dry the brush on my hand to make sure it's absolutely bone dry before I go back into that pigment. Otherwise what you're going to end up doing is you're going to get like a hard pan, and that's where, I don't know if you've seen shadows where they're sort of, they get like a really shiny, almost like a glassy finish to them, and then it becomes very difficult, if not impossible, to get any pigment out of that colour next time you go to use it. That's because someone's probably gone in with a wet brush at some point, or they've gone in with their finger and they've got oils on their finger. I don't like using my finger for putting shadows on, mainly because I'm going to end up poking myself in the eye with these. I will sometimes use a dry finger just to buff the edges of these together, but I much prefer applying shimmers with a brush. Now I do have to gently pull this lid out, otherwise this gets trapped in the creases and I get fallout through the day, which I don't want. But you can just see how beautifully opaque this pigment is. I'm doing the same thing again, coming up at an angle from that corner. See? Just to see if I can bring that corner out a little bit more. There we go. Ooh, I'm liking this palette a lot. Right, I'm going to go off and do my foundation, etc. And I will be back to finish off this eye look, which for you is going to be absolutely instant. Hey, I'm back. Seems like we've got very overcast now, so goodness only knows what's going to happen with the daylight by the time I finish this film. Right, let's get zoomed in and finish off the under eye. I went in with the Jeffree Supreme Frost in Wet Dream for the highlight today because it's super sparkly and it's super glittery, and I just wanted something a little bit dramatic to go with this look. So, going back in with the number 5 brush, which is this one that we used for packing the colour on with. Can clean that off forever, don't I? That's a bit better. I'll use this side, I think. Right, I'm going to go in and pick up, I think I'm going to pick up some of that green, that Trophies, just on the tip of the bristles. And I'm very, very gently just going to smudge that under the bottom lashes, going about 2/3 of the way along the bottom lash line. You can see I've actually carried the highlight down a wee bit. And I'm doing the same this side. I always flinch when I'm doing this eye, because obviously I don't have any peripheral vision, so the chances of me poking myself in the eye are actually quite high, and do happen on a pretty regular basis. So smudge that along the bottom lash line like so. This is going to be fast turning. If the rest of the shades all perform like this, I think this is going to end up as one of my favourite palettes. I'm just going to clear a little bit more of that purple off of this brush that I used before. Because I don't want to contaminate the colour that I'm going to put on next. And obviously that Reckless shade that I used to deepen the crease up was very, very powerful. Just dry this off. I've just got my old slobbing around the house shorts on, so I should just dry the brush off on that, as you do. And now I'm actually going to go in to Hooked. This is one that I've got on the lid. This is one I've just smudged. I'm now going to go into Hooked, which is a slightly lighter green shimmer. And I'm very gently going to buff that all the way along to meet that highlight, and just to really gently just soften that Trophies that we'd already put down. And I'm going to do the same thing this side whilst pulling faces. I really like how this look has turned out. Right, I'm going to go off camera and bung a bit of mascara and some lippy on, and I will be back with my final thoughts on the palette. See you in an instant. Hey, I'm back. Hair's doing its own thing, so I chucked a little headband on to keep it contained. The lips, if you're wondering, is actually one of Jeffrey's Christmas lippies for 2018, and it's Area 51, but it's actually one of the lip ammos, so it's a bullet lipstick rather than a liquid lipstick. But I thought this particular shade of green complemented the eye look beautifully. Now, if I were going out, I would stick lashes on. I would put probably a pair like this on. But as I'm not going out, I have just bunged some Benefit Bad Girl Bang mascara on, and I used my Gerard Cosmetics Slay All Day in Jasmine. I do have a code for Gerard Cosmetics. It is Bomber, and it will all in capitals, and it will save you 30% on your order. If you do place an order, I do make a small commission from it. However, not as much as you're going to save with your 30%. It's all linked down below, including the quick link to get onto Gerard's site as well. But we're talking about the Colourpop Good Sport palette today. Do I like it? Hell yeah! Which reminds me, I haven't filmed one of those for ages. I need to film one of those soon. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow with a second look from this. But I really, really, really like this. Colourpop's pressed powder palettes have just got better over the years. I started off with the She palette, the Femme Rosa one. Then I got the My Little Pony. Then I got the Yes Please palette, which is the dupe for the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. And then I picked this one up. This is probably their best pressed powder formula that they've ever done. And I like the previous palettes, so you know damn well this has got to be really good if this is better than them. The yellow, the green, the purple, they all blended out so easily for colours that are very, very difficult to create. I really, really rate that palette. I can see me using that a lot over the next few weeks. Might even use it for my Christmas Eve look. I might recreate this look for Christmas Eve and stick some huge great lashes on. Right, I hope you found this helpful. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could hit that like button for me, comment, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, don't forget to ring my bell, and choose all notifications so that you get told every time I upload another one of these videos. And talking of another one of these videos, I've got an awful lot for you to choose from. Why not pop over and see if you've missed any, because YouTube are shocking just lately for popping my videos into your news feeds. No idea what's going on there. Once you've watched my videos though, it'd be awesome if you could check out the latest offerings from my girlies in the Beauty YouTuber Growth Group, who as ever are listed in my description box below. Right, all that remains for me to say, as ever, is you'll stay fabulous, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.